Good morning, I'm Gerg Cahiles sitting in for Maiki Oreta, and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The headlines. The country's debt service inches down to 52.15 billion pesos in February. A new survey reveals 14.4 million Filipinos consider themselves poor in March. And U.S. President Donald Trump says China is not getting off the hook when it comes to tariffs on high-tech products. First, let's take a look on how financial markets performed on Friday. Traders saw solid gains in Wall Street on Friday as big banks kicked off first quarter earnings seasons. This is as investors closed the book on a turbulent week of wild swings due to the chaos brought by U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war.
I suspect one of the major things driving markets today is probably the positive earnings results we saw from some of the large money center banks here in the U.S. There was a lot of concern going into, to this time of what guidance might look like for them, what their net interest margins look like, and particularly with some of the largest, most iconic money center banks, it seems like the results were pretty strong, both from current results as well as the guidance they gave us for what net interest income might look like going forward for the rest of the year.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 1.56%. The S&P 500 gained 1.81%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq inched up by 2.06%. Over in Europe, stocks were mixed. The UK's FTSE 100 rose 0.64%, Germany's DAX fell 0.92%, and France's CAC 40 inched down by 0.30%. The country's debt service inches down to 52.15 billion pesos in February. Data from the Bureau of Treasury shows this is more than 80% lower than the 293.62 billion pesos in the same month last year. For the first 2 months of 2025, the government's debt service also decreased by more than 60% to 158.66 billion pesos from 452.51 billion pesos in the same period of 2024. Debt service refers to payments made by the government on its domestic and foreign debt. The Treasury Bureau explains this is due to the decline of amortization payments to 3.71 billion pesos in February from 245.79 billion pesos in the same month of last year. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP is expected to deliver 2 more rate cuts in 2025. HSBC ASEAN economist Aris Dakanay says the central bank may cut 25 basis points in August and December. This will bring the key policy rate down to 5%. Dakanay explains the BSP shifted to a dovish tone due to a more benign inflation outlook and downside risk to growth. The central bank previously delivered a widely expected 25 basis points cut, bringing the target reverse repurchase rate to 5.50% from 5.75%. Analysts have lowered their gross domestic product growth forecast for the Philippines this year. This amid the U.S. government's flip-flopping trade policies. In a recent report, the Nomura Global Market Research trimmed its GDP forecast to 5.9% for this year, from a previous 6%. Nomura said it revised its growth forecasts after U.S. President Donald Trump announced the order to impose reciprocal tariffs on April 2. The first quarter GDP data will be released on May 8. 39 out of 166 members of the World Trade Organization, including the Philippines, affirmed their commitment to a rules-based, transparent, and inclusive global trading system. This amid rising protectionism and unfair practices. The member economies issued the statement as they commemorated the 30th anniversary of WTO, the only international organization that deals with trade rules among nations. The members also committed to explore innovative approaches that will enable the WTO to deliver meaningful outcomes. the restore a well-functioning dispute settlement system. Good news for motorists traveling during the Holy Week. Expect a huge rollback in oil prices soon. Gasoline could go down by as much as 3 pesos and 75 centavos per liter starting Tuesday, April 15th. Diesel prices could decrease by up to 3 pesos and 40 centavos per liter, while kerosene 3 pesos and 50 centavos per liter. The Energy Department says the factors for the rollback include escalating U.S.-China trade tensions, which have led to fear of recession and reduced demand for crude oil. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and narratives that matters most to your bottom line. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange opened earlier. Let's look at the initial figures. The main index is trading at 61.30 from Friday's close of 60.82. All sub-indices are in the green. Gainers currently outpacing decliners 66 to 33. So far, value turnover has reached 380.8 million. Meanwhile, in currency markets, the peso opened stronger at 56.93 to the dollar, appreciating from Friday's close of 56.97. A new survey reveals 14.4 million Filipino families consider themselves poor in March. Data from social weather stations or SWS shows this is higher than 14.3 million poor Pinoy families recorded in February. However, this is lower than 63% print in December. The survey was conducted on March 15 to 20 using face-to-face interviews of 1,800 registered voters nationwide. The Philippine contingent deployed to quick-hit Myanmar is back home. After conducting rescue and retrieval operations for 2 weeks, the volunteers touched down at the Bilyonaryo Air Base Monday morning. Philippine Emergency Medical Assistance Team Leader Dr. Ivy Lozada said they were able to provide medical assistance to more than 1,000 patients. Defense Secretary Gilbert Quidoro said they will undergo debriefing. Overseas Filipino workers can now cast their votes ahead of the upcoming midterm polls next month. The OFWs can vote until May 12 at 7 p.m. in line with the voting schedule in the Philippines. Pinoys in New Zealand were the first to vote. The COMELEC confirmed that the system underwent a verification process, successfully recording the counting all test ballots accurately. The internet voting system is in place with COMELEC officials, technical experts, and representatives from the PPCRV supervising the process. With the midterm polls a few weeks away, the Commission on Elections is ramping up its campaign to empower the youth vote. Ivy Reyes has the report.
As 2025 is a super election year with the midterms, barangay, and barn parliamentary polls, the Commission on Elections intensified its voter education campaign among the youth. In the Rizal-wide voter education seminar in Antipolo, COMELEC Rizal underscored the need for more active participation, as only 50% of youth voters voted in the last Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Recognizing the threat to fake news, COMELEC also introduced their newest mechanism against disinformation, Task Force KKK, or Katotohanan, Katapatan at Katarungan sa Halalan. For senior high school student Lady Shine, the elections seem less confusing with seminars like this.
It helps us po, students, especially students po na very active sa social media where fake news po are everywhere. It helps us po para ma-distinguish kung ano yung dapat namin gawin and yung mga tama po sa mali.
The commission also had attendees try out sample ballots and the automated counting machines to be used on May 12. According to Ongat Taytay, this campaign campaign stemmed from the information gap they see among the youth who are prone to engage in online disinformation.
I think it's more part of a growing demand for the youth to be more involved in terms of our incoming elections, most especially since the youth represents 60% of the voters for this year.
With 3 elections happening in 2025, Angat Taytay stated that it is crucial to keep an informed voter population.
Exactly 1 month until the May polls today, Comelec stresses the do's and don'ts that youth voters should remember. Comelec urges its voters that if they want their voices heard, they must exercise their right and duty to vote. Ivy Reyes, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
President Bongbong Marcos is calling on Filipinos to draw strength and hope from the story of Christ this Holy Week. In his message, the President urged the nation to embrace resilience, compassion, and faith values exemplified in Jesus' suffering, death, and resurrection. He encouraged the public to reflect on Christ's sacrifice to let life's trials strengthen their character and compassion for others. The President also hoped that the Holy Week would be a time for families to reconnect and find comfort in one another's presence. Thousands of police personnel have been deployed throughout Metro Manila in time for Holy Week. The National Capital Region Police Office, or NCRPO, says security has been tightened in transportation hubs, commercial centers, malls, parks, and recreational spots. Police personnel have been deployed to over 300 churches in the metro, with other manning major roads, checkpoints, and transport terminals. The police have also increased their presence in malls, with officers also on standby for possible emergencies. Car fans had a field day at the 2025 Manila International Auto Show, where Bilyonaryo-backed auto brands rolled out their newest rides. From luxury EVs to cutting-edge car tech, it has 4 days of pure automotive bliss. Our mobility correspondent G. Baroga gives us the highlights.
This year's Manila International Auto Show, or MIA, celebrated a major milestone, turning the big 2-0. For 2 decades now, it's been the ultimate playground for car lovers, showcasing not just shiny displays, but also major local debuts of the hottest car models.
Over the years, MIA has witnessed the unveiling of groundbreaking models and rise of the electric and the hybrid technologies, and the growth of the passions community.
And this year, it was all about the future. New energy vehicles took center stage, proof that the shift to sustainable mobility is speeding up. One of the biggest players on the floor was AC Mobility, powered by the Zobel de Ayala family. Their booths proudly showcased BYD and Kia vehicles, but it wasn't just about the cars. It was about the bigger picture of building the charging infrastructure to match.
With every new charge point installed, with every EV on the road, and every innovation in charging technology brings us closer to a cleaner, a smarter, and more efficient way of moving.
Over at the Auto Hub Group, car connoisseur Willie Titan rolled out luxury head turners from Mini, Lotus, and Chinese EV brand Zeekr. His goal is to rev up excitement and sales in a highly competitive market.
You need to concentrate on the unique selling propositions of each and every car. Some of them are based on pricing, some of them are based on specs, some of them are based on how it looks.
But it wasn't just the new kids on the block making noise. Mia's also gave the spotlight to classic cars, custom builds, and the booming aftermarket scene. One standout was Concept One Wheels, eyeing the luxury market with their premium hoops.
We're targeting the European cars as well as high-end Japanese like Lexus. And so maganda yung product line niya for mga sedans, saka crossovers, and even sports cars like the Lotus.
From eco-conscious innovations to pure car eye candy, Mia's 2025 proved once again that when it comes to the road ahead, Filipino car culture is definitely in the driver's seat. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
We're taking a quick break. Business 360 will be right back. U.S. President Donald Trump sought to clarify the status of U.S. tariffs on high-tech products from China. This after a weekend of confusion added uncertainty to his plan for global trade. In a social media post, Trump said nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade balances and non-monetary tariff barriers that other countries have used against America, especially not China. On Friday, the Customs and Border Protection issued a rule sparing certain high-tech items, including smartphones, laptops, and hard drives from Trump's reciprocal tariffs. But many of those items come from China. But top Trump officials clarified the reprieve was both temporary and part of the existing plan to review the national security implications of importing semiconductors, the chips that power many consumer electronics, before applying electronic-specific tariffs. China's Ministry of Commerce launches its so-called Premium Exports Homebound Expo. It aims to bring more high-quality export products into the domestic market in response to U.S. tariffs. The initiative was launched at the 5th China International Consumer Products Expo, which opened on Sunday in the province of Hainan. 6 national import-export chambers and 5 major industry associations jointly pledged to streamline domestic market entry for high-quality export products during the event. With support from the central government, more exporters have begun selling high-quality domestic products to consumers. Russian missiles hit the northeastern Ukrainian city of Sumy, killing at least 34 people. 2 children were among the fatalities, more than 100 others were wounded. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the deadly strikes on Sumy were carried out by ballistic missiles. Zelensky called for a strong response from the world to the attack and to treat Russia as a terrorist. The international community condemned the attack. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio extended his condolences to the victims of what he called the horrifying Russian missile attack. Pope Francis paid a short visit to St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City during Palm Sunday celebrations. A video released by the Vatican shows the pontiff being escorted into the basilica and taking a moment to pray. Pope Francis greeted the crowd by the end of the service from his wheelchair as he continued to recover from double pneumonia. This is the Pope's second public appearance since being discharged from the hospital 3 weeks ago. It is still not clear how much he will participate in observance of this year's Holy Week. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Gerg Cahiles. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.